So my name is Charm Penawart. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Oakleaf Wellness and Health and the Marketing Executive. We have here today a special guest, Steve Raack. He is the CEO and founder of Vitalibis, and we just love the process. It's a full spectrum, it's sourced organically, and that's really hard to find, and you've got a great mission. And we are out there loving the opportunities that you're offering, everyone to share and earn. And towards the end of our presentation, we'll go deeper into those opportunities and explain to everyone how they can actually, share Vitalibis as a side gig and earn that extra income. Thank you, Staples Spotlight Space. We were going to do this publicly in person at their location on 17th Street, but we are lucky to still be able to use Zoom to make this presentation. So welcome everyone to our webinar today. And today we have the Steve Raack. And Steve, we can go on to the next slide, and I'd like to introduce you. You are the CEO and founder of Vitalibis, and you have great extensive leadership experience in the skincare industry, and we love that. But tell me a little bit about how you got into the CBD industry and why.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for inviting me to participate, and happy to discuss that. So about 7 years ago, before people were even talking about CBD, I was introduced to CBD for a daughter that we have with special needs. And so she was struggling quite a bit with just school and getting up in the morning and sleeping and a whole bunch of different things. She had tremendous amount of issues. She has autism, ADHD, OCD, epilepsy, you kind of name it, and she's got it. Very complicated child, and she was on multiple pharmaceuticals. And as she was going through different cycles of her maturity, she was struggling with behavior and struggling with just coping, which was having a massive impact on our family and in her schooling and everything. I was introduced to CBD, like I said, several years ago, and kind of got to my wit's end and decided that, we're going to try it and we're going to see if it works, because nothing else is working, and pinned her to the ground and basically put it in her mouth. And very quickly we saw a massive difference in her personality and her body and her approach to things. And so for me, I was pretty much shocked. And so I did a lot more research, learned much more about the plant itself. I learned more about CBD as a product. But then when I started researching how it was made, where it was made, it just really kind of disgusted me, the low-end quality that was out there. And that's because it was really unregulated back then and under the radar, but it was becoming popular from an acronym of CBD. So once I realized that this stuff was really working for her, her life completely has changed as a result. I decided to find the highest quality, most important, most pure product possible, and then bring that into our family. That then turned into Vitalibis, because there is a lot of CBD product on the market today, unfortunately, that's at the low end mass production level. And again, I was not interested in that for me, myself, my family. All the businesses that I've worked on in the past are more towards the safe, luxury, higher end side of things, which means understanding really where the plants are coming from, how they're extracted, and so forth. So that's some of my background getting into Vitalibis and starting it. It wasn't to chase this trend. It was actually to produce a product that didn't have misinformation, and it was education first. So is that a good enough overview, Charn?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Steve, sure, for letting us know about your background and why. Sure. We'd love that, and we're very happy to hear that it is helping your daughter, and hopefully many other people, that are going to be trying the CBD Vitalibis products. So why don't we get started with this webinar, and we'd love to hear your presentation and learn more about CBDs and the benefits and what makes it different, how Vitalibis is kind of taking a more, high quality approach to, producing the full spectrum of CBD. So yeah, take it away, Steve.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thanks. So I believe the first slide jumps into kind of what the market has done. And one of the reasons which has driven a lot of brands to come into the market is because of analysis and publications and headlines such as this of moving to a $22 billion industry. And that gets a lot of people's attention. It also brings a lot of not so great folks to the table because they're chasing the money, right? So if you look at the CBD space as comparatively to nutrition or skincare or wine or something else of that nature, there's a lot of companies out there that are using what's called white labeled products in the CBD world. So there's some large extractors. They pump out tons and tons and tons of oil. Brokers will buy that oil and then market to people and say, I can get you in the CBD space. I just need 100 labels. So people are jumping into the CBD industry and putting products on the market that are just basically white labeling products that coming from these extractors that coming into the brokers. What that means is that there's no differentiation for a lot of the lower end brands, and even some of the brands that are marketing quite well, they're just buying it through broker networks. Unfortunately, those broker networks can be misleading. They may not be giving you the right information, the right test results, which is sometimes where you'll see people getting in trouble. And sometimes these celebrities will slap their name on something and it turns out that that product didn't have any CBD in it at all. Well, that's because they didn't test it, they didn't care, they just put their name on it, put their label on it, started selling it, and then third-party companies would come out and start to test it. The reason why I mention that is because not all CBD products are the same, and you have quite a bit of brands out there, thousands of brands that have never been to the farm, have never been to an extractor, have never created the product, they're just buying it and putting labels on it. You see that quite often when you see a brand that has a dog product, a pet product, a human product, a bath bomb, a pain cream. If you see a smaller company doing that with multiple products, it's typically buying it from a broker because they haven't done the product development nor the formulations, etc. That doesn't happen in the nutrition space. It doesn't happen in the skincare space that often because you're always trying to have a differentiator or a different opinion or a different formulation or a point of difference. But in the CBD world, especially in the immature space right now, a lot of people are buying it through brokers. So that's kind of one of the things. Also, CBD in and of itself is not a product. It's actually a category of products. There's low-end CBD, there's high-end CBD. Some CBD brands care about the strains that the product is, the plant that's coming from. Some of them care about the extraction. Some of them care about the terpene levels. Some of it's isolate. We'll jump into that in a second. But that's kind of give you an idea that CBD isn't all one product, and it's coming from lots of different places, and there's a lot of companies just slapping labels on product. So jumping into the plant itself, this is one of the places that people talk about a lot is, well, where does it fall? Because I hear CBD and I hear THC, but we like to educate. As we mentioned, there's over 450 real elements to the plant, the cannabis plant. And cannabis has, we call it kind of like two kids. One kid is hemp and one kid's marijuana. Hemp is associated more with low THC. It's associated with more of the CBD side of products, where marijuana is associated with more of the THC or the psychoactive or the high side of the product base. And so you'll see the differences there, but they are still cannabis. It's still cannabis sativa. It's still, there's different plants, there's different species, there's different strains. We don't want to get into all that. But most importantly, when you dive into this plant, and especially when I was doing that for my daughter, I was fascinated to find out that CBD was only one molecule or one element of 400 plus. And it was also only one cannabinoid of 80 to 100, 120 cannabinoids, depending on the research. So CBD, CBN, CBG, THC, there's the acids too, CBDA, THCA. There's a whole bunch of these different pieces, as well as terpenes and flavonoids and chlorophyll and fatty acids and omegas. And there's a whole bunch of pieces in there. So when someone sit there and say, well, your CBD oil tastes authentic and it tastes a little stronger than this other company, the CBD isn't causing the taste. It's other pieces of the plant. It's other terpenes. It's other pieces of the plant, the chlorophylls, those type of things. So we as a brand, Vitalibis as a brand, care about retaining as many of those elements, beneficial elements as possible. There are people out there that will tell you that chlorophyll has no beneficial elements to being in a product. And we just say, Google chlorophyll. There's benefits to having chlorophyll. People sell chlorophyll as a dietary supplement. So again, there are benefits to having these other elements. And when you look at them together in one oil, there's entourage effects, there's other benefits. But also to try to help destigmatize the plant a lot, we look back in history and we see thousands of years of people using hemp and marijuana and cannabis for different things. So in the 1600s, in the US, we used to be able to pay our taxes with hemp. So hemp was used for textiles and ropes and papers and sails. It was a big trade commodity, so forth. Today, we're using a lot of that byproduct of that plant, whether it's into an oil or something. into body care and skin care, anti-aging type of products under sublingual, gummies, vapes, all that kind of stuff. It's now being productized into multiple categories, but the plant itself is way more than just CBD. If you start to really focus on this industry, you're going to start to hear a lot more about CBG and CBN are two more parts of the elements of the plant that you're going to start to hear more about in the next year if you're not hearing them already. That's something that we've been paying attention to as well. So that's some of the plants. At Vitalibis, we do the same things, but we know what farms our stuff is being grown on. We do have the certificates of USDA certified certificates that they are organically grown. Again, so if you're going through a broker and you're going through wholesalers, you're going through a whole bunch of channels, that gets lost a lot because they're just not retained, and they're just telling everybody's saying it's organically grown. There's not enough organically grown hemp in the US to satisfy every product's claim that it is. So if somebody says to us, especially in some kind of an audit, show it to us. Here's the farm. It's organic certified, right? Here's the testing results. The test results are in our company's name because we did them ourselves. We didn't go through a broker. We didn't go through something else. I've seen brands out there that use Microsoft Word and just put test results in there, and they're passing that as if it's from a third-party lab. It's actually not. This we call certificates of analysis. This is the only industry I've ever been in, again, in nutrition, that people will want to see your C of A. So in the nutrition space, in the skincare space, we always do C of A's. So how many times have you gone to the store or bought vitamins or skincare online and you've demanded that the company post their C of A's? This is the only industry I've ever seen it. I don't mind it, don't get me wrong, because it shows it, but there's a lot of lack of trust, and so therefore a C of A shows what's actually in the product. And then we have some things about partnerships and so forth. We're a different brand. We actually go after looking for alignments and partnerships with organizations and people that actually make sense, not just to sell product, but actually completely makes sense. And there's a slide on the Bruce Lee family in a little bit. But those icons at the bottom, if you can see the screen, third-party testing, solvents, no harsh chemicals, that's because the variation in quality of product. And one of the big things with us is that we don't use solvents or CO2 to extract our products. So again, the mass market, think of CBD as a category again. The mass market products are going through CO2 extraction or solvent extraction or something of that nature. I have a background again in plant extraction, and I didn't like CO2 for skincare. I didn't like solvent for skincare. I don't like it at all for cannabis. I don't like it at all for ingestible type of products. So while I was searching for my daughter, again, Vitalibis was not of interest to become a brand. I was looking for something for her. I kept saying solvents and CO2 is not what I'm interested in. And a lot of people will even put on their websites that we're solvent-free, CO2 extracted hemp oil. You're like, well, just Google is CO2 a solvent, and you'll see it's a solvent. So again, it's not necessarily aligning, but it's because that's what is being told to them and educated to them. So I kept working and looking and looking. It took about 18 months to 2 years to find a craft extracted oil that uses just short controlled bursts of heat to extract the oil. So when you look at cannabis, even if you were to chew on raw cannabis, you wouldn't get high because THC doesn't exist in raw cannabis. THCA, the acid, exists. So if you were to chew on it, you wouldn't get high because it has to be activated, or there's a process that we can go into if interested. You have to use heat to move it into THC. So that's why people will smoke a bowl or smoke a joint or do something like that. To turn it into an oil or to turn it into a consumable product like a soft gel that comes through that process, we have to use heat to take it from the acid to the actual cannabinoid, from THCA to THC, from CBDA to CBD. So we were looking for organizations that use the extraction with hot water, with hot air. What happens is you get less of a throughput through it, so you don't have as much oil coming out as you do with the CO2 and so forth. So you have a higher cost to be in this business for non-CO2, non-solvent, but it's a higher quality product and it tastes better. It retains most of the information and most of the cannabinoids and more elements of the plant. So the way we do specifically extraction, we can't get rid of THC completely because we don't do all the processing that other companies do. We can't get rid of pesticides or mold or mildew in the hemp plant when it comes into the extraction because we don't do all the processing. So we have to make sure up front that we're getting the highest quality biomass to come in. Other companies that use certain extraction methods, you can actually eliminate pieces of the plant and pull out pesticides, pull out different things, because you're highly modifying the extraction process. And then at the end of the day, we believe as a brand that you should have trace elements of THC in your product, because it actually helps improve the overall health and wellness of the product and the entourage effect of the product. So there are companies out there that will have CBD isolate, which means they've removed everything except the CBD molecule. Then it kind of moves all the way up to what's called full spectrum. In the middle, where people are actually doing a lot of work at now, is called broad spectrum. They've highly processed the plant further, and they've taken out the THC molecule, or at least they're marketing as if they took out the THC. So the challenge there is that there still might be trace elements of THC in that oil, but they're marketing as THC free, and then somebody fails a drug test and then they end up suing the company. So it's very careful of what you're doing. Even though the test results say 0.00% THC, the trace elements may actually have enough to trigger some kind of a failure of the drug test. So be careful with that. But the entourage effect is well documented. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem and other places around the world have documented this entourage effect. The more full spectrum, the more beneficial that is on your health. And here's a here's a visual that shows. Excuse me one second, I may cough. Here's a visual that shows what this might look like in the market. So we took these products out of dark bottles and put them in glass bottles into a light box so that you can see what it looks like. On the left-hand side is CBD isolate. So there's nothing in this product. There's nothing in this product other than the CBD molecule and whatever carrier oil that it's connected with. So this is usually odorless. It's clear. It doesn't have much taste, if any. And the taste would come most likely from the carrier oil. But when you take this, you're seeing a CBD product on the market that's saying it's 3,000 milligrams or whatever it might be, really high levels, because it's all CBD, right? That's what you're getting. You're not getting any other elements of the plant. They'll put bubblegum flavor or cherry flavor or berry flavor or lemon flavor or whatever into it sometimes, but that's what CBD isolate looks like. The second one over here and to the left is a CO2 extracted oil. And that's because you're taking more elements of the plant out. That's the visualization there. That's the number one selling product on the market is CO2 extracted CBD oils. You do retain some value of the plant. You retain other elements of the plant, but you can see by the colors, you're starting to pull more and more out. Water soluble is a category that's interesting. So CBD is, or any kind of extract from cannabis, whether it's on the THC side, CBD side, whatever, it's actually hydrophobic, which means it doesn't like water. It's against water. So the concept of being water soluble should be in quotes, right? It's basically either nanoparticles or liposomal, or there's some kind of processing that happens with either surfactants or some other ingredients that kind of encapsulate the molecules, the CBD molecules, to allow them to disperse better into water, sorry. But that's what you'll see sometimes in these bottles, is it starts to clump a little bit, is because there's other ingredients, there's other things happening typically, again, in that water soluble piece. But water, remember, at the end of the day, CBD is hydrophobic, right? So that's science. And there's people that will sit there and tell you that it's not, but that's science. And so what people are trying to do is make it more available, more bioavailable, or more absorption is really where the focus starts to come in. On the left-hand side, these three oils are more of the full spectrum. This is our 300, our 600, and our 900 milligram oils. You'll notice that the higher the potency of our oil, the more of the plant that we retain. So the more of those 450 elements I mentioned earlier, the more of that is retained into the plant. It does have a more authentic taste because we're retaining more parts of the plant. But again, our philosophy, we want to be the highest quality, least processed oil on the market. So that's what that is. Just a couple folks in this deck is that we've got some alliances, like I mentioned earlier, with folks like Dusty Baker, right? Dusty's never, he's become a good friend of the company. He's never been someone that's endorsed products, doesn't have a big social media following, but Dusty is a huge fan of ours, and it's actually helped him tremendously with a lot of his post sports ailments and so forth. And he's one of our players. Fun little fact is that he invented the high five. invented. He was the first person on recorded history that did a high five, and today is National High Five, National High Five Day. So he's a good dude, great ambassador for us, one of our strategic advisors. Eric Wright is another one. We focused a lot on our business around athletes. Specifically, we're trying to work on some concussion testing and some concussion-related pieces. Again, no results, no claims, of course, but we're working in those areas to see how CBD works in multiple areas of the body, because you have what's called an endocannabinoid system in your body, and that endocannabinoid system has receptors all over your body, and some of those receptors are obviously in the brain. So we're wanting to see how this works for athletes and how it helps them with recovery and how it helps them with certain types of things. And so we do have a couple athletes on our team. And then we also mentioned earlier, we have an alliance with the Bruce Lee family, with Bruce Lee Beverage and Shannon Lee. Bruce Lee used cannabis and other Chinese herbs during his training. And when he was considered one of the most elite athletes of all time, he used many modalities. We aligned with Shannon and her team and her alliances to create an authentic product that actually is based on some of Bruce Lee's recovery processes and modalities and practices. And so in our signature 900 oil, it's an alliance with the Bruce Lee family and the Bruce Lee Alliance. We do have a proprietary blend of other herbs that help athletes help with recovery. So again, we're focusing on high quality products, high quality alliances for trust, high quality supply chains, and continuing to bring the best products to the market, mostly because it's all based on making sure my daughter has the best. Another piece of our business is that we give a lot back to nonprofits. So we do align with 10 to 11 different nonprofits out there, some of them with environmental, some of them with human-related pieces, whether it's breast cancer or planting trees or sharks or bees or military connections. So we do give a percentage of our sale back to multiple nonprofits, and we are offsetting a lot of carbon footprint. So every year we get certified by the Carbon Fund by offsetting our carbon footprint as a brand, based on all the small parcel distribution and the travel that we do as a company. So it's important to us. We talk a lot about personal and environmental wellness. On the digital ambassador side, this is where the gig economy comes in, and this is kind of really important today because a lot of people have lost their jobs, and we created a model that takes affiliate marketing 2 steps further. It's not an MLM business, it's not getting into all the chaos of that, but it's if you're an influencer and if you need to make some money or you want to make some money on the side gig, there's no rules, there's no minimums, there's no craziness like that. What we've done is most influencers make money, but then their followers don't make any money or their friends don't make any money. So they have to reconnect with the brand. So we said, well, why don't we take some elements that work in certain other businesses and influence this to say, you can get a code or a URL that's custom and unique to you. And if you share that and people purchase, we'll give you 20 to 30% of the commissions on those sales. And if that's all you want to do, fantastic. If there's somebody that you know who's a blogger or a vlogger or another influencer, they can enroll, you would refer them, they would make the 20 to 30%, and you would make 5 to 10% on what they sold. And then one step further. So there's only a 2-level, and this is more because we noticed in a lot of these models, especially in the affiliate side of things, is that they're only as good as their followers or their relationships. We don't like the whole concept of MLM with all the complexities and all that kind of stuff, and we think that that's not the right model. But we do want to we want to reward some referrals, basically. So that's what we've done. So 20 to 30% referral commissions, and then you can earn between 5 and 10% on some of the referred people that you bring in as well. And again, perfect timing. We're seeing nice growth today. It's a great place, and especially during today's lockdown and coronavirus and all the stress and all the sleep issues and the stress of whether it's physical and mental and emotional and financial. We have amazing products that are very beneficial for today. And then again, it's a great side gig. You know, that's what we're looking for with partnering with companies like an Oak Leaf, and we have several alliances, and we're just very proud to be aligned with folks like Oak Leaf and their team. And so here we are sharing today through this opportunity. What we also do is tell people, like, there's a $20 fee for 20%. So if you come in, $20 fee for 20% savings on the product. So anything you buy, you get 20% off. So if you look at our prices and you want to enroll, great. What we offer to people all the time, especially right now, is like if the $20 is a problem, we can join for free. I don't mind putting the $20 back onto your account as product credit, and then use that credit for buying a product. We're not here to make money on the $20 or anything like that. That's just part of our model. But free to join, so $20 enrollment free. We will put the $20 right back onto your account. You can use that. Again, if you just want to buy a product for yourself, that's a great option. If you want to then share it with other people, you get a code, you get a URL, you can share it, and then you can earn the 20-30%. If somebody else shows interest in saying, hey, I would love to earn that money, refer them in, and then you'll earn some money off of that as well. So very simple. Again, there is zero of the friction points and the negativity of the social negativity of some of the MLM things in the world, but it allows us to pay out around 45% of the retail dollar in some level to people that are helping us as brand ambassadors in our business through Oakleaf or through Direct Us.